I could.
It looks amazing. I'm jealous.
Yeah, me too. Weather's good
Nice.
because grandson was with a school group last week, and half of them came down with COVID and had to shelter in Rome for whatever days. But luckily my grandson didn't get it, so he got to go to Rome, Pisa, and Milan. So I'm assuming they flew out of Milan on the way
They
home.
probably flew out of
He's
Milan
home now,
yeah.
but he had a wonderful time.
I bet you the weather's been sort of, it's not been
Yeah,
bad.
evidently made the headlines in Arcata.
No, it's
Thank you.
it's really busy down here. People have given up on the mask and everything else. People are just living their lives now.
Yeah.
So it was a lot different in October. They were asking for your covert vaccination cards and things like that. Now that's not even being asked for anymore. You have to wear a mask on the seat of bus and things like that, but other than that, it's pretty well.
Yeah, I just got my second booster shot, so.
Did you?
I'm hoping that's it. There's Phil.
I'm going to hold off with 3 until they make me get the 4th one.
I asked my doctor and he said, well, hold off a week or so and see what happens. And then, go ahead. And he said, you probably should get it. So I made my appointment.
I'm just going to hopefully wait.
You should be fine.
Well, hello, everybody. I need to step away for just one moment. I'll be right back.
Okay. You home finally?
Yeah. So do we have everybody here now, or are we?
We need Tara.
Okay. We'll wait just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, she usually comes on at the last minute. So is she related to Nancy too?
No. It's a different too. So, John, what's your favorite thing you've done since you've been there?
I like hiking. We do a lot of walks. There's a place called Nocella. It's way up on the hill in back of me. And we go up there and then hike out the Path of the Gods. And it's just gorgeous views along the Amalfi Coast. And then we just hike back. It's about a 3-hour walk. And then you walk down these steps back into Positano, down like this cliff. And it's really down through the olive groves. It's really neat.
That sounds lovely.
I just, basically enjoy sitting right here.
I don't know why. If you have to sit somewhere, I guess it's okay. But I mean,
I sat here at night. It's cool because it gets really active outside. As you look down, the ferries come in from Amalfi and Capri and Salerno. It's really to watch the ferries come in and all the private boats coming back at night. It's fantastic. It's a place you had to come visit. You really have.
Okay, I'll be right there. Just stay there. Order me something for dinner, and I'll be there in a
I'll tell you.
minute.
Pasta with lobster.
Anything.
That's what we had at the.
So it looks like when I signed on, we had 5 people. Now we have 6. Was that Tara that came on as the 6th person, or is that what somebody else?
256. Is that you, Leslie?
I'm on. I'm
Oh,
on.
good.
I don't know if I was.
She's
I'm on.
cool
I don't
there.
know. I don't know if I was the 6th person or not.
I know,
but I'm on.
Leslie. Too.
Okay.
All right, we're ready to go then.
Okay. Let me get over to the agenda. All right. So we have let's have the call to order and roll call.
John Krischer,
Here.
Susan Murphy,
Here.
Bill Pardue,
Here.
Tara Twomey.
Here.
All here, thank you.
Okay. Public appearances. Do we have anybody online? Okay. On to announcements. Announcements from the trustees.
No, we continue to do well at the market and get a lot of questions answered for the library.
Excellent.
And they
Okay.
and they did a really nice luncheon for volunteers. I don't think anybody else came from you guys. Well, you were in Italy and FilmWorks, so, but it was a very nice luncheon they did yesterday.
Okay. Announcements from the library director.
Yes. So Alex isn't here today. So some of our joint announcements. One, the Carmel Public Library Foundation fundraiser is this evening. I hope to see all of you there. The garden connectivity project, we put just a teeny tiny little pause on that for the week while Alex prepared for the fundraising event this evening. And we have a meeting with a landscape designer on Monday. And we met with the garden club last week or the week before. They were kind enough to invite us to one of their monthly meetings. And so we talked to them about our intentions with the garden connectivity project. And I think that meeting went very well. And they had a recommendation for us for another landscape architect. So we'll be talking to those 2 people about what we're looking for and keeping the garden club in the loop. They're now receiving these notifications of meetings as part of their regular correspondence in their email, so they know what's coming up. If we have any big announcements or drawings or anything to share, which we don't at this point, we will be sure that they're included in that part of the process and that's here in front of all of you. And just an update on the city council. There'll be the first round of review of the operating budget as presented to the city council next Tuesday. And so for the library, that the impacts there are our library staff. One of the changes that I did ask them to make this fiscal year was to look at the number of full-time staff that we have versus part-time staff, and in order to and to increase the number of full-time staff, decrease the number of part-time staff, in hopes that it would help with our recruitment process. Because that has been very slow going. But we are getting there. It's looking good for this spring that we will have more full-time people in the building and start expanding hours next month, which is just in a few days. So stay tuned on that. And then the board and commission appointments will be going before council for ratification next week. We're still, in terms of applications that were received on time and what the mayor and vice mayor were able to do in terms of interviews, we as a board are still down 1 person, unfortunately. But I have some ideas, so stay tuned on that. I will be working with the mayor and the mayor pro tem on what we can do to fill our vacancy, short of opening up a whole another recruitment period. But I do have some ideas on that. And those are all of my announcements.
All right, thank you.
Ashley, can I ask a question? I don't know if now or later is the time to ask it, but Ashley, you said stay tuned on hours. Of course, I think all of us, and I think you too, that's kind of the primary question I get, right?
Yes.
When are the hours going to open? When are the hours going to open? When are the hours going to open? So, so do you have, so I know you said, so we're not fully staffed up yet. Do we have is there just a rough idea of are we planning on opening both buildings simultaneously, opening till what is the, without kind of necessarily tying you down to a specific thing or date, is there just an idea of how you might do that just generally?
Yes. So what I'm looking at right now is expanding hours into Tuesdays and Thursdays actually to start with. So we will expand out that way. I've got a couple different scenarios that I'm running for what can work for us in terms of hours expansion. We do have a new person that will be starting full-time at the beginning of May. So we'll start there with adding in hours and using some of the part-time people that we have on staff a little bit more. Oh, well, they're close to their maximum, but making sure they're at that maximum. So I'm looking at Tuesday, Thursday expansion to start with. Simultaneous in the building is tricky because once you are simultaneous in the buildings, you're covering breaks and lunches, and that increases the number of people that you're needed, not to mention throwing in some vacation and doctor's appointments. I know it seems like it should be clearer and cutter and drier than that, but it never is. I've never, ever done a perfect schedule where everybody is in the place they need to be. Because
yeah. So when you say Tuesday, Thursday, you mean the main Tuesday, Thursday? Opening up the main on Tuesday.
The main
Thursday.
and the park branch. So we might be doing the split hours. I have that scenario worked out. Or the other thing that we have been discussing is expanding out just, again, where we can. So our hours pre-pandemic were 10 to 6, Monday through Friday in both buildings. So we're just trying to ease our way back towards that. So adding an hour into the end of the day so that we're open until 6. So it'll be incremental that way. But the simultaneous in the building, it'll be at least another person before we get to simultaneous in the building.
Okay, and then what about so obviously I think the goal, right, is to kind of get back to where we were before the pandemic. We had also just started Sunday hours. We had Saturday, Sunday hours as well.
Yes. Yes. I
So
want
is that
Saturday,
also
Sunday
kind
hours.
of, I mean, long-term kind of trying to get there back to Saturday, Sunday as well?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll start with Saturday hours. Sunday hours will be the last thing to come back. Sunday hours for certain in both buildings.
Okay, perfect. I know a lot of families are clamoring for more time.
Yes,
so.
more time.
Perfect.
And yep, we are headed there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Ashley before we move on to the orders of business? All right, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes for the March 23rd, 2020 regular meeting.
I move we approve the minutes.
Oh, can I make just a small adjustment to them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is on the board announcements. There's just a typo one. It should say I sent instead of send the memo. And then also it suggests that I'm going to attend the meeting in the future when in fact I attended the meeting in the past. So the meeting was the day before, the council meeting was the day before our board meeting.
Right. Okay.
Leslie, did those make sense? Those little just minor tweaks.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, I move we approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay, if we could have a roll call. Vote.
John Krischer,
Yes.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Sarah Twomey,
Yes.
Bill Pardue.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
All right, received the librarian's report for March 2022.
All right, so the librarian's monthly report I'm just keeping an eye on our circulation statistics, as they're one of the best indicators, since we are not doing programs at this point in time of library usage. We are definitely up over February last year. And one of the things I also was doing, which is an interesting compare and contrast, is looking at the previous year to date and just our circulation statistics for the month of March, which last year we were just doing curbside. Same amount of hours for curbside for time to pick up, but the browsing really has increased, and that it definitely shows we're up over 1,000 circulation items circulated for adult items over last year for I don't know, I'd just like to see where we are in terms of what is how effective our library service has been under the circumstances. So we're definitely up. People definitely are happy being back in the library and browsing again. And that's reflected in our statistics. So again, to Kara's questions before, we're definitely, our highest priority is expanding hours again, so we can have more people back in the building. And that is what I have for the biggest thing I have for statistics at this point in time. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. No questions, then we'll move on to, thank you very much. It's good to see that the library is, circulation is coming back up. Especially with the, we're not open as many hours as we were before the pandemic. Yeah, it looks like we're on a glide slope to get back there. So do you have a sense on how close we are? Although we have the library's open fewer hours, are people taking more books per hour than before? Do you have any sense? I know that you haven't tracked that, but do you have any sense of whether that's happening?
Anecdotally, from when I've been on the desk, people do tend to come in and get a stack of books and say, oh, the hours are confusing, or I'm not sure, so I'm stocking up now. Just looking at our statistics from March of 2018, we're about half of what we were for adult circulation at that point, which is impressive because we're at less than half the hours that we were.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Yeah, sounds great. All right, thanks. All right, let me shift around here. Okay, we're on to receive the treasurer's report and approve the check register for March 2022.
All right, on the treasurer's report, I think we're doing fantastic. We're still well under budget, and our income is more than what we budgeted, because that's really thanks to Friends of the Library, the extra money they gave us. We're really looking good on that. As for actual budget of what we had really budgeted, we're still way down on actual on a lot of things like the programs and different items like that. Still, I think it's the COVID, the library not being open. And I think next year, after the library's open full time, I think our numbers are going to be back up and we're going to be really right on budget. In fact, maybe we might have to increase a budget on some items because we really don't know what's going to be like coming out of the pandemic, whether people will use the library more. I think they will. And I think we'll have a lot more use of the programs and different items like that. And as for the check register, I've been checking them out and looks really good. I was signing all the checks in February and March when I was home. So on that, it really looks good. Any questions on them, I'm willing to answer them.
The only question, go ahead, Tara.
Thanks, Phil. And this actually may be for Ashley and less about the budget, but you had mentioned that we were under budget in programs. I know we didn't adjust that because we want to increase our programming going forward. And so I guess my question was, our next meeting isn't going to be until towards the end of May, which is practically summer. And and so maybe less for John than for Ashley. So do we have a kids program in the works? I think we do.
Oh yeah. So
we just didn't hear about it. So I want to make sure that we all know that and I don't know if we're doing it outside in the park, we're doing reading, or I don't know what we're doing. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Or can we get a report on that next time? I don't know. It just occurred to me as John was saying that I was like, oh, programs. Yeah. What are we doing for summer? Because it's going to be here before we blink.
It is going to be here before we blink. So yeah, you will see definitely spending coming out of the summer reading program budget. One of the things I did, because we are all over the place with staffing, is I asked community activities staff to go through, since that's community activities wheelhouse, to go through and plan our summer reading programs. We just finished the lineup and the promotional materials yesterday, actually, just reviewed them. So that will be going out to the community as soon as we can. So we'll be doing different performers like we've done in the past, but instead of doing them in the library, we'll do them at Devendorf Park. So we have Zoo to You coming, we have a puppet group coming, we have African drummers, something different every week. And then it will culminate with a book giveaway and the Wheelie Mobile. And I can't remember who our last performer is, but it is it's a really good program. I'm excited. It'll kind of kick things off for us, getting back into the programming game. And so yes, definitely summer reading, definitely spending in that budget before the end of the fiscal year. And that's why we did that, is specifically why I didn't touch it. So that's coming. I will get info out to all of you as soon as I pull emails and things together.
The only question I have is on the equipment. We're over budget for the equipment right now. Is that because is that a timing issue where the QuickBooks puts it out, divides whatever your actual is, or your budget is over the whole year evenly, although you may buy it at different times?
Yes, it is. That is exactly what's going on, because I was working on the proposed budget for 2022 and looking at those actuals for 2021, 2022, and that's what's happening with this report.
Okay, so we'll be closer to being on budget by the end of the fiscal year then.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I thought some of that was we had approved the budget, an extra to the budget to buy those new computers. That brought our equipment costs up a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that budget adjustment, yeah, that's what it's doing, Phil, is it's allocating it evenly over the months.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Any questions on the check register? Okay, if there's no questions on the check register, can I get a motion to approve the check register for March 2022?
I so move.
This is Tara, I second.
Okay, we can have a roll call vote.
John Krischer,
Yes.
Susan Murphy,
Yes, sometime.
Tara Twomey,
Yes.
Bill Pardue.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
All right, on to receive the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
All right. So a little earlier than the last few years, I have a draft of the proposed fiscal year, a new fiscal year budget, and this will be for 22-23. Budgeting is an interesting exercise, and it has been an interesting exercise during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic. It continues to be an exercise in recalibrating each of the different budget sections. As long as I'm budgeting, you're probably never going to see huge changes where, from year to year, some sort of pendulum swings. And one year we're not ordering any print books and we're only ordering ebooks, simply because that's not reflective of how our community is using the library. we're still, of course, hampered by the fact that we don't have staff, but we're moving in that direction. So we're anticipating filling those vacant positions. We will pick up and do additional ordering. So purchase suggestions / zip books program has kept us able to be responsive to immediate demands of our patrons. And plus we've got our regular ordering where we have things set. So the things that we know definitely everybody likes and will be asking for, New York Times bestsellers, all those things come to us automatically. So hopefully we'll have additional staff be able to do some more curation of our collection. The budget is here before you at this point in time, and again, earlier in the year than I normally have it done, in order for you all to sit and think about it. Again, nothing groundbreaking, shattering, or anything like that, but there are different areas that I think we'll go into in more detail the month of May once John and I have, we've communicated by email and been talking about some of these preliminary numbers and looking at them, but I'm hoping this will give all of you time to take a look at it, send me questions, email questions, call me up on the phone, and then we'll do a more in-depth presentation and look at the strategic plan as well in May. But I'm happy to take any questions that you have right now, if anything jumped out at you in terms of what I'm thinking about and anticipating for the next fiscal year.
Okay, any comments or questions from the trustees?
Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions at this point. I love the color coding. It made it much easier to read.
It helps me keep myself centered where I am and with all these longs, especially when the budget is unrolled and it's each of the line item details. It helps keep me straight.
So it seems like, for 22, 23, you've got it basically the same as 21, 22.
Yeah, there's not much change in overall. Some of the changes to each of the line items are responsive to things like what we just did in terms of budget adjustments in the month of February. So additional funds for e-resources like Canopy and Hoopla, because those are getting use. And again, I think it would be worthwhile exercise to just find out from the community how they're using the library. Anecdotally, I can tell you that I have heard from a number of people who, love their hard copy books, but embraced the electronic materials. So they're going on walks and listening to audios, or going on a trip and reading something on their Kindle. But they're coming back to the print books. So they're now dual users of the library, which is really interesting. So they're finding both things convenient. And they say, if the pandemic had happened, I never would have tried Hoopla. I never would have gone to Overdrive. And so the recalibration of those, I think it's important to understand, isn't that we've completely lost patrons to hard copy materials and they're never setting foot in the main library again. It's that more people are now using they're using both e-resources and hard copy materials. They're balancing their needs out, especially right now when we're still in this reduced hours phase. So interesting.
Yeah, and it seems to me that the budget shift from hard copy to electronic is relatively, it's less than 10%. It looks
right. Like I say, you're never going to see it.
It's just, I would call that a pretty, minor adjustment coming out of the pandemic, as you said, where everybody has kind of gone to digital and is becoming more comfortable with that format. But yet, I, like many others, still like to have the book in my hand. Mm-hmm. So that seemed to be pretty modest in terms of the shift, but I think one that seems appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed. We always thought that maybe at some point we'd have to stop the book sale because everybody would be online, but people still like those books. And I did $220 2 weeks ago, just at the market, with all hardcover, hard copy books. So children's books and good paperback fiction seem to be our best sellers. But I was always amazed at how much people really want that book in their hand. I know I do, so.
John, any questions or comments or?
I think the comment on the hard copy books, our demographics is still a lot of older folks in our town. And I think they still like the hard copy. But as Ashley said, during the pandemic, we've all got more going online to get things and got more comfortable with it. But I still like the hard copy.
Yeah, hard copy books are never going to go away. They just won't. People love them too much. I think younger people, everybody reads them. I don't think it's an age thing necessarily.
Right.
It's a matter of personal preference. So one of my least favorite questions ever is, what is the future of libraries? It is always happening. The future is now. We're always changing and evolving and being responsive to our communities. And I think that it's been a question that's asked for a long time. And people expected that you'd go into the library in probably 2020 with our hover cars. We drive there and check out, a CD-ROM with all the world's knowledge on. We're not going to get there. People like books. They're happy with books. We'll keep having books.
I sell a lot of good paperback and paperback fiction to young people. So I think Ashley's right. It's across the board. It's not necessarily an older group.
Yeah, but it is. Again, this budget reflects just that. And then with programs and that area largely remains the same in the hopes that we are able to achieve the goals by expanding those hours, having more staff, and then looking at, and we'll have her come and do a presentation at some point in the future, restarting the oral history program. Katie O'Connell has number one, opened the local history department again to coincide with the Park Branch open hours, which is great. That department is definitely getting used again now that we're open there. But she has some ideas about jumpstarting the oral history program and getting that running and actually increasing the number of interviews per year we have been doing pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. So we are on track.
And
Sounds good.
Sorry, this is Tara. And it looks like there's nothing we need to do. We're just receiving this report.
Just receiving. If you think of anything, mm-hmm. Yes, if you think of anything up until our next meeting, please let me know. And so I can look into it, answer it. If you need more details on something. I'm still going to be working with John when he is back in town on just looking at all these numbers and finessing things a little bit more. And we'll have the next round of this review back for you in May.
And we plan to approve it in June or in May?
I will leave that up to the Board of Trustees. And depending on where John and I land, I think we should be at a good place in May. If there's not too many questions here right now, unless a whole bunch of things crop up. We could be poised to do the budget adoption in May, which would be nice. But we always have that buffer at the end of June if we need it.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. Any other comments on the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget before we move on? Okay, future agenda items.
We'll be going over the proposed budget once again, and I would like to bring back a staff report on our strategic plan, which runs from 2020 to 2022, to do a review of where we are and start thinking about the next round of planning.
Do we need to do anything or work on the $50K from the council for that strategic plan?
At this point in time, we do not.
Okay. Tara, I'm sorry I cut you off.
That's okay. That was my question. You were anticipating and ahead of me.
All right, thanks. John, were you trying to jump in there?
No, I think the strategic plan, we can come up with the finances for that different ways if the city won't give us budget for that.
Right. Well, during the interview, it sounded like that they were going to give us the $50K for the strategic plan, and they were expecting a windfall. So if there's something else that we needed, we should let them know. But I think that Ashley has other views on that. But anyway, I think that so there are two strategic plans we're talking about. One that Ashley's bringing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley is talking about for next week is the strategic plan on how we want to grow the library. They talk about community outreach, programs they want to start, things like that. And then there's also the strategic plan on what we want to do with the building, both of which may require us to devote funds to. But they are two separate items. Is that right, Ashley, or did I get that wrong?
No, you got that absolutely right. And they're on the library's strategic plan for community outreach. There's two projects in particular that I'm looking at and that John and I have discussed that I'll bring forward at a future date with potential sources of funding for those. And that's the radio frequency identification tags, the new self-check machines and equipment that goes along with RFID, in addition to some marketing and branding that I think would be really good for us now that we will be expanding hours to help with some of the confusion, which is not only hours related, but continues to be people who don't understand the park branch versus the main versus local history versus kids. It's very interesting. We even put "You Are Here" stars up all over the libraries for the hours, and people are still confused. So I would like some professional help with that one because we've tried. We thought, well, every which way. But I'll be bringing those projects forward separately as part of the strategic plan discussions with potential funding sources for those outside of the operating budget.
Okay, good. All right. Any other future agenda items? Anything the trustees think they need to bring up? We need to put on the agenda? Okay.
And I will continue to come back with either verbal or written updates as to where we are with staffing, but also the garden connectivity project.
Okay, good. All right. If there's nothing else, let me ask it this way. Do any of the other trustees have anything? Susan?
No.
John?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, Tara?
Nope, I'm good too.
Okay, we'll adjourn and see everybody next month.
Thank you all.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Have fun, John.
Sure thing.
Enjoy. We're all jealous.
Thank you.